Good afternoon and welcome to TalkSports. It's a weekend program. It's very I know I'll be
Sorry, boss, you're on mute.
yeah, everyone involved in sports. Thank you very much for that. Yeah, thank you very much. So yes, so on this weekend's program, as we indicated, we'll be discussing a number of issues as it relates to the recent the OECS Swimming Championship. That's one. There was also the we have the secondary schools football tournament that is in action now. The secondary schools. We haven't heard much about the GFA football competitions of recent. I don't know what happened, but probably not what really happened. But the GFA. By the way, there is triathlon. We have not heard a lot about triathlon recent, but there's the National Triathlon Championships on Sunday in Grenada. There's also the International Rugby Tournament that's returning in early December. In fact, it's an entire week of activities culminating on the 2nd of December. That's second Saturday, December 2nd. And there are a number of other things we want to chat about as well. But it's probably a good time for me to introduce and welcome my co-host, um, Rudian. I think
And
it's
how you doing? How you doing?
what should I
Pleasant to
say?
be
Is
with
it
you.
mild day? Would you consider it to be a mild day in Toronto?
I have no idea if it's mile or if it's on mile. It's just strange. You know, we don't have this type of weather this time of the year. It is very nice outside, sunny. It's not too cold, not too hot. It's just perfect weather. Well, something is coming. You see it like that. Something is coming, but so far we can't complain. Well, I'm not complaining. You know, many will, but I'm not complaining. But so it's weather is good.
All right, all right. Well, good to hear that from you, Rudian. Um, let's see. As I indicated, we want to talk a little about the couple of things regarding the OECS Championship. Um, I think I may be just hold on a minute here because I think I might be having some problems with my some delayed audio. I think, right? Yeah, I having a little problem with the what they call
Yeah, I'm having some issue with my Wi-Fi too for some reason.
um
I don't know what's going
yeah,
on.
sometimes these
Yeah, my Wi-Fi
yeah.
is going
But
on and off. And
as,
yeah.
as it relates to the as it relates to the OECS Swimming Championship, I know last week around now when we had our program, we had the OECS Championship, which was actually um, well, in progress, I should say, right? It was in progress, and we no doubt had the swimmers, our local swimmers, in action, and it's really in what I should say. It's sort of challenging to know that swimmers, and I want to bring that to the fore. They continue to whatever I would say excel, right? And they excel under the sort of conditions, Rudian. As you know, we do not have um, as swimming facilities, if I may put it that way, right?
Yep. Yep.
The swimming facility at the Good Hope Swimming Pool has been like that for what more than well since I know swimming, competitive swimming in itself, right? And yet for all, they continue to be among the best in the sub-region, among their peers.
Yep.
I am still saying, could you imagine just as how we got, track and field and football stadium? And by the way, they have been promised swimming facility even longer than the athletics and the, I've been covering sports for over 30 something years, and I've been hearing about swimming facilities, lands acquired, etc., etc., swimming pool every year in a budget presentation. Say next year the swimmers will have a swimming pool, Olympics rise, all sorts of promises.
Hmm.
Yet for all, they continue to persevere. And by the way, one other thing about the swimmers, don't you know that most of the swimmers, their parents actually pay for their participation? They do get some level of assistance, but their parents actually pay for their participation, sometimes by way of an airline ticket or the accommodation. Albeit, they go with large numbers. I think swimming is probably one of the largest contingent of sporting representation when it comes to Grenada and sports, even more than when we have probably Olympic Games and all these. When we have swimmers participating in the OECS or the Caribbean Games, they go in very large numbers. So I could understand in that context. But despite all of that, they continue to put right. Certainly for some, they don't think it's fair game. you know? And I draw that reference to in that you recall the incident earlier this year with the character swimmers and the character athletes. The athletes arrived and they had a live presentation and basically almost an award ceremony for the athletes, while at the same time the swimmers were arriving from the Caribbean Games, and there
Hmm.
were no fanfare and welcoming for them.
Yeah.
I was hoping that even after the OECS Swimming Championship, there would have been something similar with the GIS and the Ministry of Sports, but that wasn't the case. But that be it. Congratulations again to our swimmers. Continue to fly the flag high. Continue to represent Grenada. Continue to excel. Runian?
Most definitely. But when it comes to certain sports, Michael, it do fall on the parents. Swimming is one of them. Gymnastics, um, sometimes soccer. It do fall on the parents in terms of traveling. They have to pay for pool time or pay for ice time, so it do fall on them. Swimming is as well as gymnastic is a very expensive sport. Not in terms of the swimming equipment, but just the facility to use. It's quite pricey to use. Um, However, if I want to shift gears for a little bit, when you look at Grenada and let's look at track and field for an example. We have one track, but how many schools coming in and perform very good, and they don't have the track. There's only one, not track in Grenada for say, and they still perform. So it goes, yeah, it goes kudos on the coaches. They really, in that situation, it goes to the coaches. They adapt to what they have and they make use to what they have, and that's what come with true coaching. When you don't have the proper facility or the proper equipment, you make do, and that's coaching. And then you see the performance when the kids go there and perform, and we've seen it in swimming with Grenada, podium after podium after podium, and that shows that the coaches is doing something good, and they really instill into the athletes. We don't have it, but we don't have to quit. We don't have to give up because we don't have. And by them not doing that, you see the results. And I'm saying it right now, hoping the coaches are listening. Kudos to the coaches because that falls on them. This is coaching. That's true coaching. You make do with what you have, and you see the results when you come out from it. And you
But
see again, some of the other teams have the facilities. They have all the facilities, and the performance is not the same as teams that don't have a facility.
Rudian, but the point is still being made that it's rather unfair for the parents of the swimmers in particular to be making all these sacrifices.
Yeah.
And when you look at probably track and field, basically they have everything. They have the facility. Um,
Yeah.
they have the support. I mean,
Yeah.
not the parents per se, because we don't see the parents as how we see the parents out for swimming and some of the other sporting disciplines. But I think there must be a fair playing field. Okay, we are track and field fans. We are track and
Yeah.
field to the board. But at the same time, fair is fair, and I think there comes a time when all sports should be treated equally. Of course, athletics have bring much glory to Grenada regionally and internationally. The exploits of Kirani James, Lyndon Victor, Anderson Peters, Hazeland Regis, Aline Francis, and we can just name them on and on. Albeit we haven't had any world champion or Olympic champion in swimming. But when you look at their participation and competitiveness at the sub-regional and regional, I think we must give them the sort of support with the hope that they can reach to that level as athletics. Okay? And I'm saying that for other sports as well. You know, look, we have the Parapan Am Games and we have competitors, but we don't see that level of attention and interest as when our able-bodied athletes competed probably 2 or 3 weeks ago. So
Yeah.
there must be a level playing field, okay?
No, no, definitely, and yeah, I mean, you're sure right. My answer come from um, I'm here in a bigger country and I see the same thing happening that is there. I don't see the difference, major difference. There might be more support because then you can get more sponsors, businesses and so forth give sponsorship to help that particular sport. But you are so right because then in the end they're representing that country, they're representing that province, so they're representing the parish, and there's some way something should be in full to support them more than the little or nothing they are getting, and it should not fall on parents when you're going to represent your country. When it shouldn't.
Well, yeah.
It shouldn't. It
I,
should
I
not.
think I think
Shouldn't.
we agree
Yeah.
on that.
Yeah.
Let me make some shout outs to some folks very early. Golden Child, good morning. Well, good afternoon now. Golden Child is actually in Toronto. Yeah, that's my old schoolmate in Toronto. Toro, also Toronto, is saying, Sebastian, you cannot enter this program without commending Canada on winning another title. Billie Jean
Yep.
King Tennis
Back
Slam.
to back.
Still waiting on you to do an entire Saturday segment on Canada's greatness in international sports.
That
Canada's,
was that was a because they did it last year too. It's back to back. I believe they're winning. So
yeah.
that is such a an
Well,
awesome. It was a beautiful game. I watched
even
it.
though,
Yeah.
even though I'm willing to do that, you'll have to guide me into which country I should concentrate on because I know most of Canada's success in sports have to do with some immigrant, either from India, from Pakistan, or from the Caribbean. So tell me which country. All right. Um, Roger Duncan, good afternoon from the Spice Isle, Pure Grenada. Is it still raining? I knew there was a lot
But
of. In
they
fact,
got some
even
heavy
last
rain,
week, yeah, last week when we
a
were
lot of
speaking to
gum
at
trees
the Simmons,
and so
a
forth.
lot of
Yeah,
rain.
a lot of rain.
Um, One user is saying track and field doesn't have the facility or the support. The price to use the stadium still remains. The fact, though, they still have a
They have a track.
they
They
still
have
have a
a
track.
they have something.
They have
Yeah,
a stadium.
they have a stadium.
So
Yeah,
whether there's a price, the
or
fact
not.
is you have the
There is
facility.
there is And then
Um,
and then you talk about it, and I get what the user is saying. Um, and it come back to me being here is this exact same thing. We have to go to an indoor facility. We have to pay, for the whole year, and it's cheap, but it's for the younger athletes about $20 for the year. And when you
uh,
think about that, I mean, for them, it's not a lot of money, but it's still money coming from parents' pocket on top of the fees, on top of all these things. So it's money that comes in. Same thing with the track. You got to get a permit to use the outer track. So everywhere you go is the same thing. But for a small nation, to one extent, I understand. But when it comes here and you see the same thing happening, you see that there is a problem in sports and facility and support. It's just
support.
not
Yeah,
only in one place, it's globally. It is globally, and it's something that really have to tie down, because when and it's maybe not all. And you go to Spain, there are soccer fields that is more beautiful than some World Cup stadium, and it's open for the public. You go to some countries and it's open, then so you have to
yeah,
question how one country can do it and others cannot do it. Then maybe we should take a page from them other countries and see what they are doing and try to implement some things that can help. There should be the track in the stadium should be some sort of structure where it doesn't have to be every day, but it could have a set schedule where people can use the track for X amount of time, because then it's not the whole country that is running track. It's not the whole country that is have a program, and much people wouldn't leave the country and come to the stadium every day of the week. It might be once in a week, or once every 2 weeks,
yeah, and then
because of transportation and funding to get there. So
yeah,
it benefits those who is closer to the stadium than those who is far away.
yeah. So the
So yeah,
accessibility is one, and then
yeah,
we have to remember that when it comes to the swimming facility, the maintenance of it is very high compared to track
very
and
high.
field. Yeah,
Yes.
because you have to do the salination, you know, the cleaning ever so often after every use, and a lot of things have to be done.
A lot of
So
things. And when you come
yeah,
back to all them
it,
other sports, you have most parishes have a netball court or a basketball court that they can play in. Most parishes have a soccer field that can turn into a track and field on the grass running. Most parish have those things. Swimming don't. And the little that they have, if there's a swimmer coming from Grenville or St. Mark's or St. Patrick, that's a distance. That's a cost for them to get to the
mhm,
stadium or to that facility at the same time. So if there is not a fair game across the board, because like again you only have one. If there was two track in Grenada, there's one in Grenville and one in St. And I'm just using those two parishes, then you get people can move around and try to find access to where they're going, but there is only one, and it a cost to get there. But something should be in place through the Ministry of Sports for the stadium to be used at either at a certain time of the year or a certain time of the week for the athletes, because in the end, who does it belong to? Should
mhm,
belong to the people and not,
right.
so
L-
yeah.
Let me say good afternoon to Edwin Sam. Oh, he says checking in from the Commonwealth of Brooklyn today. So I can't say good afternoon to New Jersey, but something he says there that might ruffle a little Toro. I'm sure there'll be a segment when Canada becomes great at something. Toro will have to fire back at that one.
No, no,
Weather is
definitely. I
sunny,
mean, I mean,
sunny with
they
some
talk.
passing clouds over the coconut tree and windy. Yeah.
And it's all right. I mean, at one point there was not say they were great, but they're good. They've been on the podium in a lot of things in soccer, and I mean, we are fortunate enough to be hosting the World Cup games, upcoming World Cup. We have some games here in Canada. Um, you see what happened with the tennis, and that's successful. We have individual hockey, but no longer hockey is no longer where it had to be. Other countries are stepping up and saying, they want a piece of the pie. So we're not great as we used to be in certain things, because they take it for granted and feel I am the greatest. And that's what you find with the US. You go back with the basketball. Yes, you might say you didn't pick your best team, but you pick a team and you go there and you couldn't even get a medal. You couldn't even get on the podium. And that's is it a disgrace? Maybe for the Americans, yes, but for the rest of the country, somebody get an opportunity. Somebody step up. They step up and they invest and they put into the sport so that they can get on the podium. And when you start doing this, the men hockey team had to strip men hockey team had to strip their whole board because of all the thing that was going on, all the fraud that was going on, all the all this thing was happening in there. They had to strip their whole entire board and they lost every sponsorship. Every single sponsorship left them until they revamped themselves back together. So you ask, were you in a position where you feel like you're on top so you can start doing what you're doing? And if sporting organizations start doing this, they're going to start going down. We see in basketball, players lose their contracts because they feel that I am higher than everything else. When you get to that point, then it's always going to be an issue.
So Torres reminding Edwin that they beat America in basketball.
There you go, which is what I just talked about,
Canada
right?
is number one in hockey, curling, and kayaking. So the tides are turning. He also says that working on getting a few top Grenadian sportsmen and women, including some swimmers, to switch to Canadian citizenship. Prime Minister Trudeau would welcome them with
open arms. And I have an athlete who's really good, and I made a call to Athletics Canada, and they are willing, because the person could get a citizenship, and they are willing with no hesitation to give them a letter to apply. No hesitation. So when you see some athletes and the reason why the person want to do that is because the particular country don't take them seriously. And then you have a big country like this who is saying, yes, we'll take you because you are the best here and you're not even a Canadian. And that country where they want to represent and where they're from do not take them seriously. So yes, opportunities happening, opportunities coming around for people. When you have to love the sport, and sometimes people say, yes, I love my country and I want to represent my country, but do your country love you as much as you love the country?
Okay, then. Let's see if we can get a little of this ceremony that took place for the swimmers on Friday, as reported by MTV Sports.
Association held a press conference on Friday to inform the public on the achievements of the 34 national swimmers that just won the 31st OECS Championship, together with Antigua and Barbuda, which took place in Rodney Heights Aquatic Center, Gros Islet, St Lucia. The Grenadian team came back with 135 medals overall. Grenada also got 3 overall champions at the meet. MTV Sports spoke with the champions after the launch.
Hi, my name is Mateo. I have 9 trophies, and swimming is my thing, and it's just that sometimes I swim, and then sometimes I don't, and I like traveling around the country swimming.
Hi, my name is Jacob Collymore. The competition wasn't bad. It was a bit tiring on the 3rd day, but we pushed through, and we ended up winning. I'm going to go to next year's CRIFTA, 13-14.
My name is Evie Chimarema, and I think the event of OECS was very exciting and challenging, and I was able to race against other girls my age that are not just in Grenada and swimmers in other countries. Next for me, I want to go to the Olympics.
There was a total of 4 OECS records broken by Tilly Collymore in the 400-meter and 200-meter freestyle, Aneka Otway in the 100 breaststroke, and in the girls' 15 and over 200-meter short course medley relay. The Assistant Sports Coordinator in the Ministry of Sports is Damian Castle.
We know that swimming has been doing well in the OECS Championship and doing well overall, and the ministry wants to continue its support, and we will continue to work with you to help you to improve in whatever area that we can, and we hope that you would see this as a stepping stone for you and you not just stop here. This should be the first stage, and you look on to move on to the highest level that you can get. And once you are willing to do that, you know that your parents is here to support you, the association is there to support you, and the ministry would be there to support you in all your endeavors.
Okay then, so that's report first from the MTV on their nightly news. Well, nightly news, and that was a segment on the swimming. And you heard the young swimmers expressing their views, and they sound so passionate about the sport, even at that very young age. And what's so interesting about the OECS Swimming Championships is that they have these various age categories, including the under 8, under 9, the various age categories. And you can see year after year how these swimmers are progressing and progressing. And that's, to me, it's very encouraging for the sport. And I wish we can see that in other sporting disciplines, because that is part of what you call your grassroots program, because you're giving them the competitiveness at such an early age, right? So congratulations again to our swimmers, and the hope is that the swimming facility or swimming pool will become a reality, just as how we have been clamoring, or we had clamored for a stadium, and we have been clamoring for the national sports policy. We are now clamoring for swimming facilities for our swimmers. Okay, so we now move on to the Parapan Am Games. I don't know if you have been following same, but the Parapan Am Games, that's for the para athletes, started on Friday, and I think it's on Sunday. We have a cyclist who should be in action. Let me get his correct name, but he should be in action for the representing Grenada in the category of, well, yeah, it's Sunday morning, actually, in road cycling. He rides, that's Sheldon Francois, and he rides in a division for competitions with competitors, rather, with 10% vision. So he's a bit visually impaired, and he will be riding, that's road cycling, on Sunday morning. So we want to wish him all the best, because we do have the cyclists there. And we think there's also another competitor. I have some actual photos of the athletes who represented, because they're being managed by Bassanio Nicholas, and I know Bassanio very well, and I'm certainly he'll be able to inspire those competitors to do their best. Certainly looking forward to their performances over the next 2 weeks, and I hope that there will be that level of interest and support to our para athletes as they participate in the Parapan Am Games in Santiago, Chile. Again, it's very chilly in Chile, because I saw some the photos of these the athletes on their arrival, and certainly the attire alone shows you that it's very chilly there. And I know you are one, Rudian, who have been advocated for shifting of these sort of competitions at probably in other regions or other times of the year.
Yeah. No, I definitely think so. What's the benefit for all? And like I said, those who those who is initially accustomed to it, that they have the advantage. And some, definitely do not have the advantage. So definitely, I think that would be something to look into. Maybe not all the sport, but maybe some of them, because for a sport like swimming, they are yes, they have to dress when they get off the plane and when they on the street, but when they get into the facility, they are inside. So it's not much of a a disadvantage for them. They're just on the inside. In other sport where you have to be outside and performing, but then there's a disadvantage if you're not accustomed to the weather.
Yeah, well, I agree, and certainly we want to wish them all the best, because I think we need to give them that sort of support, because we never know. Not too long from now, we may be, calling the names of one of these,
Yeah,
and that's where they normally start, eh?
yeah, 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 yeah. That's
Right.
definitely. Yeah.
And then we also have the triathlon championship, the national championships, which actually it takes place on Sunday. That's tomorrow, in various categories. As we see, there's and triathlon is you swim, you bike, and you run.
And they run, yeah.
And they have various age categories. They have the 6 and under, the 7 to 10, try all ages, the sprint relay, and the sprint triathlon. As you see, the 6 and under will do 50 meters swim, 300 meters bike, and a 100 meters run. And then when you go on to the sprint triathlon, 750 meters swim, a 20 kilometers bike, and a 5-kilometer run. So you have a 5K for run, a 20K bike, and a 750 meters swim. So all of that will be taking place in the Grand Montrouge area come Sunday from 7 o'clock in the morning. Yes. So triathlon at its best, and we'll see who will be crowned the national champion of the Grenada Triathlon Championships. Well, it's a triathlon, as you know. And remember, triathlon is a combination of swim, bike,
run, and bike.
and run.
Yep.
Yeah. And you have to do it from one to the other. I think the swimming is the first. Yeah, the swimming is the first. When you get out from the swimming, you jump on your bike, you do the riding for how many kilometers and various age groups, categories, and then from the bike you do your running.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very interesting and sometimes tactical, but most times the swimming aspect is the most competitive one, because what you find is that if you're not the best swimmer, you may get left, because most people who can ride a bike, it's not so much about the speed. It's just once you get on the bike and you can ride, because in most cases it's just like a flat surface.
Yes.
You might go wrong a couple times, depending on, I think it's in the larger segment of it will be probably down to the Morris Bishop International Airport and back and things like that. So basically flat terrain for the biking and the running as well. I think the most challenging aspect will be the swimming. Okay. And then when you come to the relays, it depends on who do you have in the various segments. You have the relay teams, and you want to get a strong runner, you want to get a strong cyclist, and you want to get a strong swimmer. And you put that team together, and then there you go. That's the interesting part of the triathlon. So I want to wish all our triathletes all the best come Sunday, and motorists, please cooperate with the competitors. Okay. Normally they will mark out segments for the biking and the running, but I have covered triathlon many years ago, and we have had incidents where motorists just disregarded whatever that was there, and they did their own things and created serious problems for some of the competitors. And some of the competitors were actually they came from overseas to participate, and they're not used to these sort of things, because when you have a triathlon, they will bar off segments of the route for the entire period of the triathlon. Okay, then. So, Rudian, what else you have on your plate you want to discuss? I want to talk about some football in a while. But by the way, we want to extend, as we did, condolences to the late Adrian Spaceman Mitchell As you recall, Adrian
Yeah.
Spaceman Mitchell was on our program last September, and he was not doing too well. He did say so,
Well, yeah.
and
Yep.
he passed away on Monday.
Monday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and for our program, we want to join with the sporting fraternity to express condolences and extend to his family and friends, and also to the sporting community, particularly in St. Patrick, Hard Rock Football Club in particular.
Yeah.
Right. And as we indicated, and he said on the program, one of the things he wanted to do, and I hope someone will probably continue that legacy, is to revive track and field in the parish of St. Patrick through the Piton Striders. That's the name of the club he had in mind. Well, it's a club that was already there, but somehow it went dormant, and he was hoping to revive it, the Piton Striders. And certainly I'm hoping that someone in the parish, and probably through Rudian and Rudian's influence, he can get someone to
Something going. Get
continue
something
that.
going.
Yeah, something going with that. What it is on your end you want to discuss?
Nothing much. We do have, I think I see netball started for the high schools in Grenada.
Oh, yes.
If you mentioned that, yeah.
And we
I
do
think I
have
did see that.
the
Yeah.
football.
Then we do have the football
Yeah.
going on. Nothing much. It's quiet at this time of the year, so
Usually it's
yeah.
it's a bit quiet at this time of the year. In fact, except for some of the schools already in earnest preparing for their track and field. St. David's Catholic Secondary School normally will have their track and field meet in late January, February. Traditionally, they will have it there. So I've seen their cross-country championships and all of that. But the Grenada Boys Secondary School, they are in full preparation mode because their athletics track and field championships, inter-house championships, takes place on the 28th of this month, right? At the Kirani James Athletic Stadium, And I've seen the point standings, and I've seen some postings on the preparatory, well, they call it heats, preparatory events and things like that. So I want to wish them all the best. I know it's a challenge having it so early and in preparation for the Intercol Championships, which will be a few months away. But I assume they would have
the
a lot
plus
of
that
thought
comes from that. The plus that comes from that, in my opinion, I think it's still very early, but the plus that comes from that is that an athlete have to pick for the sports and then get back into basic training and then pick again for intercall. But the good thing about it is that you have your team. You will have an intercall team. So that is the good thing about it. You will have an intercall team ready than some schools, waiting when they have the school sports in the new year to put a team together. Well, they will have the team together so they will know who is doing what, and they will prep themselves, according to whichever events they're going to do. So that is the plus. Then you have to wait for a school sport to select your team. They have the option to have the team ready to go. So their objective is to win Intercall 2024 in the 50th year of our independence. I think that's the goal.
No, you say that's a plus. What's about the negative side of it?
It's the negative side of coming from the part that they have to pick themselves to compete at this high school meet to make the team, and then they have to get back into basic training and then pick again. So you have to pick twice or maybe 3 times and then get ready for the character games where you might have to pick for the character games again and any other sports. So it's a negative on them where they have to you're balancing up like a yo-yo. You go up for a certain time and you come back down and you go up, so it could be a lot on the body. But they know what they're doing. It's something I wouldn't do, but they know what they're doing. So it's the same thing. Go back to when we talk about athletes not going to the games in Chile this that's last gone, because they have to pick for the World Championship and come back and pick again 2-3 months later on for this meet, and then go back in basic and get 5 months later you have to pick, or at least so it's a lot on the body. So they take the opportunity. Some people take the opportunity and say no, they're not going to those games. They are in off season. A lot of them have seen through the social media, went on vacation, revamped themselves, and then they are back into the basic training for those who will be doing indoors and so forth. So a lot of things happen during the time. You see a lot of the college kids decide to go pro. All of that too is in there. So they have all this. So it was a lot, but it's interesting to see that. And is it a trend that's going to happen now that GBSS is starting now, that other schools going to want to have them meet that early? We don't know, but we'll see how it goes. But I think whatever plan they have, they see it best to do it this way.
Well, hopefully we'll see what.
Well, I mean, it's your boys, eh? It's your boys, so
Well,
it's your
yes,
boys.
but I always say when it comes to there's fair play. Okay, I
Yeah.
attended the GBSS. I support the GBSS, but that doesn't mean to say everything they do I will support.
Agree with. Yeah.
Or agree with. Better, yeah. But I am giving them the benefit of the doubt in the context of they would have given it serious thought. I am hoping they would have discussed it with the athletes, the various houses, even the Parents Teachers Association.
Yeah.
That's just my assumption.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it would have been, yes, having it early, yes, maybe early January probably would have been ideal,
But remember, at the same time, they wanted,
there's so much things happening, and then the
they
track
wanted
and
the use
everything.
of they wanted the use of the stadium. Then you have to consider. I think one of the things that one of the coaches told me is that the exams. They have their exams, end of their exams, and all these stuff. So a lot of things were put into when is the best time that we can have it.
I mean, but at the same time, I mean, they're not the only one who have an exams. All them other schools also have
but
exams.
But the other schools may not be in a situation of wanting to use the facility, for example.
Facility.
So St. David's Catholic Secondary School used La Sagesse. Remember, the Chantine playing field also came into the mix at the time, but they were looking at the situation regarding to the condition of the field. And then again, with all this rain that has been falling there, preparing.
Gotta consider that, and that's what these are the things we talk about, because
these are the things that we talk about.
We did get some sort of confirmation that the track would be ready, and it will be ready, and hopefully be ready, and also maybe be tested to some extent. Confirmation we receive, that it will be ready. We have our doubts because,
but again, could you put yourself in that situation, Rudy? Could you imagine it was a situation where they decided that the Kirani James Athletic Stadium will be out of bounds for that period. So instead, we'll proceed with having our athletics meet at the time, but at the Chantine playing field. Okay? But knowing with the condition of the Chantine playing field, and then with all this rain and inclement weather and all these things, what will be the situation where you have probably GBSS today, 2 days after might be Anakin High School, and then Convent, and then PBC, and then Happy Hill Secondary School, Boca Secondary, all these schools trying to have their sports meet at the Chantine playing field, and knowing the condition of the playing field, knowing that we can experience inclement weather, there must be, I mean, it has to be a miracle,
It has to be. And then
I could understand the thinking.
Yeah, and then they probably get word that the facility could be closed from X time to Y time. We don't know. Maybe come January, they probably get word that from January to then the track facility could be
No,
closed.
I think they
Yeah.
they they, they have been informed about the closure of the
Yeah.
stadium. I think effective. In fact, there's a date that was circulated right after the independence activities, February 7th, just somewhere around there.
Yeah.
Yeah, somewhere February. I think it could be the 9th or the 10th, but there's a date, right? So I would assume that all these things were taken into consideration to come at such a decision. However, as we have said, there are so many other schools, they are not affected to some extent, and they will have
Yeah.
their athletics meet at their,
Various
really coming,
places. Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
And
What they've been doing for years, like the St Andrews, the St Patrick's, they have the facility. So they definitely don't have to deal with that aspect about it.
yeah, and
So
I think
something too. The
the
one.
comparison too
Yeah.
is that the Tantin playing field is heavily used. Okay, it's
Yeah.
outside of this stadium. It's one of those fields that is heavily used for football, cricket, track and field, just about anything recreational wise.
So
So
is it yet too late to say that we need another track?
I don't think it's
Do we have a
late
facility? Do we have a
uh,
facility that we can put another track?
when you put another track where
No, I'm just asking. Do we have
in Grenada
a
itself.
facility in Grenada where we can put another track?
Well, remember you don't need. Sometimes we say stadium,
You don't need a
and we
stadium.
look
You just
at
need a track.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to make that point because I think that discussion came up when they were talking about having the track for St Andrew.
Yeah.
At Progress Park, and they talk about where would you put the building and blah 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 and things like that. So, and the argument was that hey, you don't really need big facility, big structure. You go to other places and you see beautiful tracks, and what you see tents.
Yeah.
You see tents. You see those mobile bleachers.
Exactly. I mean, we use those out here too. We have to bring those in for some
Yeah,
areas.
simple.
Like I'm talking about, like, I mean, one of the track was one of the Pan Am track that we have here that was at York University.
Well, I was about to tell you when we
Yep.
attended the Pan Am Games in 2015.
Yeah.
That was and you're talking about the Pan American Games in 2015.
Mm-hmm.
It was something like that at York University. Yeah.
Yep. So you have the indoor facility, but the outdoor do not have all the stands. We had to bring stands in on the curve. We had to do it when we host high school meet. The last one we host, right? Which was 2 years ago. So we had to bring it in to make sure that we have enough seat because you seen the track. The other side is a hill where the jumps are. Yes, you can sit on the hill, which is good. But then there's other places that need some stand. We have to bring those in. So that is there.
So your recommendation?
I've seen a beach volleyball on the beaches where they actually bring
the
stands.
sand.
And when I'm saying the truck came in and the stands was going up and it's like beautiful to see. But those things are there, you can bring in those stuff and you don't need certain things. It's not permanently, it's just for that time. And then you do it. So you don't need a full stadium. You need a track that will have the access that you can put in portable seats.
Right.
Yeah.
And the facilities like the toilets and all these sort of things.
And all these different things that you can bring. Yeah.
So Rudy, and your recommendation is one for St Andrew and one for Carriacou?
I think Carriacou could have one, even if it's not a full 400, even if it's just a 300 track. I think one could be there. I always thought St. Patrick's could have one in form recreation ground. They're gonna have to move a lot of the families that lives there.
So therefore,
to get it, so it wouldn't
St.
work.
Patrick.
Yeah. So it wouldn't work in St. Patrick's because it's really tight already for 300. Um, and then it's a challenge now because you put all the lights up, and then you put bleachers in. That is, in those can be moved, but you're talking about too much work. You're gonna the cost of it can be double the cost in terms of removing stuff and putting it back in. And you do have to be able to move some families who've been there for years, and that is a challenge to do. I don't think you even have the funding to move a family, to say, sorry, we give you X amount of money to pick up your house and go. Um, so that is a challenge. So no, I think St Andrews, I think Carriacou, even if it's not a 400 track, a 300 track, um, can work. Most places, the for recreation ground is 300 track that they use it, and they make it work for them. So the same thing could be done. But a nice track, other places can be done because, like I said, the sport is growing. And that's not only for us. You look at Jamaica, the same thing. Issue in Jamaica, they have the national stadium. A lot of them other places have grass, and we have seen the performance of them. So not necessarily you need the track, but it's helpful and it'd be good to have it.
Mhm.
I think it'll be good for them, so, or at least things like a cage for discus and those shot put and so forth. I think those stuff also, and then even if a runway in a certain place for javelin, as you can see, those events are evolving in Grenada,
Right.
and we have
The
seen the
throws.
outcome of it, right? And
The
so
throws, right?
even if they have that itself, but throwing facilities for them, I think also that might be a blessing for them, So yeah.
Well, there have been a lot of talk about Grenada being the site of a OECS throwing academy or something to that sort, where athletes from the OECS will come to Grenada for a period of time and they will undergo training by our certified coaches in throws, especially the javelin, the shot put, the discus in particular. But I
Yeah.
haven't heard much about that. But what you're saying makes sense in that. Um, as it relates to football, I had some questions I wanted to ask as it relates to the national football, because I recall when the former president of the Grenada Football Association, Mr. Chenny Joseph, was on our program some time ago. He made some remarks, some statements as it relates to the equal payment of match fees in terms of the men and women. But somehow I'm hearing recently that apparently that has been rescinded by the new executive, and that the women footballers are not receiving the equal amount of payment, you know. So my question is, what does it mean for equality in football in Grenada? Do our female players receive equal match fees as the men? Because at one point
Um,
in time, that was the case. And I know in North America now, that's it. That was a big court battle. The women won, and they are now receiving almost similar match fees as the men.
it's two difference.
What's
Um,
the difference?
I would
Same match fee,
agree with
right?
it.
Mhm.
Yes, I will agree with the match fees if they have equal amount of matches. If the men is
Okay,
playing more games than the women, then it is not fair that they get equal.
but match fees is per match. So
Yeah.
if you play, if 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 the men played 10 matches for a period of time and the women played 5, it means that the men obviously will end up getting more. But the fact is, the match fee per match should be the same. That's the argument. As a matter of fact, that is what Mr. Joseph at the time stated, that the match fee that the men are getting should be the same as the women getting per
Hmm.
match. So it just means that the
Let
more
me let
matches
me
you play,
um
the
let
more
me
money
use
you make.
let me use the US and and here's the US for an example. Soccer become a big thing in the US for women's soccer. Um, and is it bigger than the men? Pretty close. Um, so you have almost equal amount of people supporting. So so when you go to a stadium, of course you're charged to go in that X amount. So you make equal amount in terms of that. Is that the same thing when it comes to soccer in terms of the support? Do you have the same support cast supporting the men as the women?
Well, in the Grenada context, it might be a bit difficult because when you look at the US football, well, soccer as they call it, it's a big spectacle, social media, television rights, all these sort of things. So
and that's why I said I get their
However,
argument. I get their argument for fighting for equal.
Yeah, but that has been the situation with Grenada based on what Mr. Joseph said during his time, that the women were paid equal as the men. However, there are some reports now that that is not the case now with the new administration. They have rescinded that the women are not being paid the same as the men. Albeit now, the women seem to be performing better than the men. You know, they are on a roll, and the hope is that they probably might be promoted to another, division, another level, etc., etc. But the argument is, should the women be paid equal as the men in terms of match fees? Remember, it's match fees we're talking about.
No, definitely. I look at it, like I said,
whether it's $100 or whatever.
Athletes should be paid for the performance. Should be paid.
But remember, that is something by the association. The Grenada Football Association normally provides that stipend, as they call it, to the footballers. So when you play a match, the certain entitlement, afforded. So whether it's $100, $150 per match, whatever it is, you pay that. But I am saying, if that is the case,
is that when they go out to play, or that's when they are home?
Whether they play home or
okay, so they go away and play. No, definitely, I agree with that. That because we don't have a soccer league in Grenada.
No. The national team we're talking about,
Okay.
So whether
that's
they
what I'm
play
saying, in terms of the support, that's what I'm talking about, the support. Because if the national team is playing home, you will have the support, and people will come out and support.
The next question I actually had was why we do not have a women's league at this time. And in all that is happening with our women's football, it's time that we have a women's league.
Listen,
I think it's a no-brainer.
I've been saying every football club in Grenada should have a senior team, under 19 team, or under 15 team, and an under 10 team, as well as a women team. Maybe a senior women team and maybe an under 15 women team. Every club in Grenada, and I've been saying this for quite some time. And I think if you're not all the club, because some parish may have, 4 or 5 clubs, and it could be difficult to get people coming in. But at least some clubs, if it's 2 clubs per parish, that the person should have that, and that's how you build that program and build football in Grenada, and that should happen.
But
GFA should have that in play.
Yeah, but remember, we talk a lot and we try to mirror Premier League in England and things like that. Remember, the Premier League in England is not run by the Football Association. That's one of the things that we have to understand. It's something similar to the Wariti tournament. It's run by a board, okay, and they have their own structure, etc., etc. But it is overseen by the FA, as they call it, the Football Association. So it takes a lot away from the Football Association in terms of seeking the sponsorship and all these other things. And probably the question too may be asked as whether or not the WAGI League tournament in itself is a threat to the GFA and its development program. Because obviously, as it is now, the WAGI tournament offers much more incentives for the teams. And sometimes you find players are more interested in playing in the WAGI tournament than the GFA tournament.
And how long is the WAGI tournament?
Well, it runs over a period. It started, a few weeks ago, and I think it goes until the early part of December. If I'm not mistaken, it might be the first weekend in December.
And how long does the GFA goes?
Well, the GFA is a longer format because you have the Premier League, you have the first division, etc., etc.
The second division,
and then there's also, well, they have now what they call the conference, not so much the first and second division. But then you have the break for the carnival period. And then they resume. But even now, I'm understanding that the GFA tournament is being affected because there is no collaboration between the GFA and the Ministry of Education and Sports, because we now have the secondary school football being played, and most of the matches start around 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and sometimes it runs into the start of a GFA football game. And because there is this lack of communication, lack of collaboration, we having this problem where a lot of the GFA matches are being postponed, being cancelled, etc. And it brings us to the point where we were talking last week about the facilities and the use of facilities. And you see, if you don't have some sort of management in place, a structure in place where the GFA, the Ministry of Sports, and all those who are using the facility are under, one umbrella.
But why that wasn't in place already? That should have been in place.
and that is why they are trying to bring that in place. That's what I'm saying. And it seems as if people are misinterpreted to think that you're trying to stop people from using the playing fields, but not so much that. Is to take care of the situations like that, better management of the facilities. So that wouldn't stop Rudian from going and jog in the morning or an afternoon.
No.
Understand? It's just a matter of better management of the playing field. So it means that if you have a tournament and you want to use the playing field, you will get permission to use the field knowing that the field is available at the time that you want to use it. So likewise, GFA will not be falling into such problem as that secondary school football is scheduled for that day. The match starts at 3 o'clock. Certainly it won't finish until 5. And you have a GFA match for the same field starting at 4 o'clock. It doesn't make sense. So you will know, therefore, that if the field in particular has lighting facility, you probably can start the game at 6 o'clock instead. GFA can start their match at 6. So all of that is part of the management of the playing field. That's my interpretation.
No, definitely. And
people who are involved in sports will understand that scenario.
And you have all of them coming, like I said, all of them is flown at the same time, and there is no management on that too. There is not much management even on the schedule, because now you have those who play in school is also part of a club, one of the football clubs, and they have to either play the same day, and then depends on where that game is. Either they cancel that game or leave from there and have to go, and rush to play in another game, and that's not good for athletes, right? So they still have some sort of management in that way. Either they don't collide to each other somehow, and but then it's a lot. It's a lot. Or you use specific fields.
Well,
there's specific fields for specific things, like so you also have that too, right?
And I think it begs the question too about the whole management of facilities, right?
Yeah,
But it
yeah,
also, I think that you must start somewhere. And
yeah.
I guess that's the start of something where we'll have better management of our playing fields. So the next point is, with all that has been happening, Rudian, the question is now, what's the status of our senior men's national team? What is their rankings? Because they have been going through a bad patch over the
Yeah.
past few months. So it will be interesting to know when the rankings come out. That's the FIFA rankings. What's the
Where would they
ranking?
be?
Yeah, on the senior men's national team. I could only assume that our women are going up and our
Yeah,
men are sliding.
definitely.
Yeah,
Based on how they've been playing, they are going up, and they are doing well. They're doing well. I must say they are doing very well. So
it's a year and a half since the new football administration of the Grenada Football Association, well, they have taken office. Oh, I don't know if it's a question I can ask you or just out of the public. What's your views on the performance of the new GFA? I mean,
Hmm.
I don't know if you can answer that, Rudian.
no,
It might be
it's hard. And they say you give somebody a year to kind of see how they do, and then another year to or another 6 months to kind of put things in place. And I mean,
that's why
yeah,
sometimes the expectation, sometimes you probably put the bar a bit too high in terms of what you're hoping to achieve or
yeah.
what you promise to achieve.
Because
And
some
then
things
because that
in
bar is so high,
policy, some things that is set in policy for change may not happen right away.
then you have a right to come and say
And say
and
that
update and give
and update the people,
yeah, yeah.
update the public, if it's through some sort of social media or some sort of talk show, and update the people that this change is coming, but due to what is there now, because what is there now may have a contract signed to it, then you cannot
But
just stop it.
and interesting,
Yeah,
because I recall during and listen, my disclaimer is always the same. I'm a lifelong friend of Chenny Joseph. We grew up together. We went to school together. Our parents, well, may his mother rest in peace. May his soul rest in peace. But, the family were very close. So I know Mr. Joseph. So I think during the time, there were those who were saying that I'm a bit biased to Chenny Joseph. And I said, listen, Chenny has been my friend because since when we were, well, he's still a member of the Queen's Park Rangers Club, but since back in the 70s, as little boys, we attended club meetings and all sort of things. There's nothing that will separate us from that. But at the same
separate. Yeah,
time, Chenny knows that there are times I will tell him, hey, Chenny, no, you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't say that. You're wrong, etc. That's me.
yeah, yeah.
Likewise, he will do the same thing. So we had that sort of friendship. But I recall back when Chenny was the president of the GFA, there were numerous calls for council to do this and to do that, and Chenny Joseph must go and blah, 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 and things like that. But here the irony of this, I have received messages of folks who, but the interesting part about it is that they want you to say certain things, but they don't want to say it. So my thing is that please come. I open for discussion, just as how when Chenny was president and some folks were on this program chastising him, criticizing him, you're free to come and express your
Say
views.
do. Because
Right,
sometimes your views can help.
right. But
Sometimes your views can help.
it appears that there are a lot of cracks within this new football administration. But folks are just not willing to come out
Just
publicly and say, and they want you to say certain things. And I'm saying here, no, you come and say it. I'm giving you the platform to say what you want to say. Because when Mr. Joseph was president, it was an open sepulchre for anyone to come and criticize him and say this and say that. So what's the difference now?
The difference now, yeah.
But my hope is that we are moving towards the development of football. That's the bottom line. No matter whether it's Chenny Joseph, Marlon, Glean, whoever it is, ultimately is the development of the sport, right? And I don't think there's anyone who would have thought that Chenny should be president for the GFA for life. You know, there comes a time when one has to walk away and has to move. Yeah. And new leaders will come, but the sport continues. Okay.
Yeah.
Chenny is no longer the president of the GFA, but football continues. There may be arguments that if Mr. Joseph was there, things might have been better.
This would have happened. Yeah.
That's subjective. You know, that's subjective. The fact is, football is there. The development of the sport should be the focus. And as I told those guys, I'm in support of the development of sports. So no matter who's there, you know, you may not want to speak to me or speak to my program. Yeah. That's fair.
As long as they're doing what they have to do.
That's fair. That's what it is. You know? Yeah. So I'm hoping, Rudian, that ultimately, and probably for the end of this year and going into 2024, new year, new attitude, new dispensation, as we embrace the 50th anniversary of Grenada's independence.
Okay? Yep.
And I'm just hoping that probably sports will get its fair share, the treatment it deserves.
Definitely. And so the athletes. And so the
50 years of celebration. I think part of that celebration should be the celebration of Grenada's sporting achievements as well. Yeah. We talk a lot about football, about political achievement, economic achievement, sporting achievements as well.
Yeah.
You know, that should be part of the, you know, the talking points. And I'll hope that those in charge will have that sort of consideration.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, as usual.
It was a pleasure, as usual.
Just before we go, there's someone who asks about what about planes in St. Patrick? I believe they were talking about the facility. Planes in St. Patrick?
When I see planes and over the past years, I think, and I always thinking planes should be a cricket stadium. And I always see it that way.
You don't have to say a stadium.
Cricket. A cricket field. Yeah. A cricket field. And I think it could be developed with some stands and you really use for cricket. That's what I think. So I always talk about planes. I always see it for that specific. I think when you I talk about specific fields for specific things. And that's one of them that I think planes should be for that. Mm-hmm. I think for recreation going could be an athletics field that's open up for both soccer and track and field, and not cricket. That's my opinion. But someone once said to me, in the days from Mali to Sates, you'll find the best high jumpers in St. Patrick's because you have the McDonald College ground, we have the high jump mat, the sand, and back then you had sand, but you had that then, and you couldn't find not another better high jumper anywhere because they cannot get to a facility where they could do high jump. So you always find better athletes in high jump coming from within Mali and Sates in that area. Outside of that, high jumpers, you couldn't find it. And that because of the field and the equipment that was there via to McDonald College equipment for high jump. Mm-hmm. Now, if you take away the soccer, the cricket, even though I would like to see cricket be in that area, what would happen to the cricketers in that area? What would happen to the cricketers around? If you move track and field from one area, what would happen to track and field in that area? And you come back to the same thing: the economics in how people are to travel to certain places. Um, that become a difficult thing. But when it comes to the cricket and planes, I also think that should be specifically for cricket. That's my opinion. I don't
Yeah,
think they should play any football on there. I think it should just be for cricket
I
only. Yeah,
I
that's
think
my opinion because the people in the area have River Sally um to use if they want to play football, or they have Rose Hill that has lights that they can use in
yeah.
that area of in that vicinity in that area. The people from Chantimel and those areas don't they have Chantimel playing field for football and for track because they use it all day for that, right? School sports, right? It is a hit and a miss. And it is, you look at the economics of the country, you look at what is available. If you move something, what would happen to the sport in that area? So that's always something
I,
we
I,
gotta look at.
I want to
Yeah,
suggest too that, and probably just adding on what you said, that in going forward, and especially with the parish sports council, that
yeah,
they should look at identifying at least one or two playing fields in the
yeah,
parish. So each
yeah,
of the parishes, well, except for because we have the national stadium, both
yeah,
football, athletics, and cricket already in St. George's. So I'm speaking about the other parishes. At least identifying at least one or two playing fields, if possible, that they can designate as major playing fields for particular sports in those
sports,
areas
yeah.
and
And those
develop
fields
it.
should be, yeah, and
Yeah.
those fields because I was told that for recreation ground have some sort of contract with FIFA um, for to use that field for X amount of years. Um, and when you utilize it for other things, it's been destroyed. You having shows in there, where it's been destroyed for shows. So when you look at Sunfield should be for specific things, and I feel like that like for recreation ground that is an athletics place that I can do cricket, soccer, and track and field. There shouldn't be any activities on there but that. So you
Mhm.
shouldn't be building anything on the track for to host a show or to have a party. I don't think it should be. I think it should only be for not because I like the sport, it's because the fields do get destroyed.
Yeah,
Because
we know
what
that. And
happens
then,
after the fact when they
mhm,
leave, the field do because they stump, and if it's rain, and if they decide to do a water fet, then it become that, right? So I think that facility should be. I think facility should be specifically for specific things, and and when it's identified as an athletic stadium for that, if in that sense where you play in all three major sports. I think it should just be for that and nothing else that it could
mhm,
maintain properly, um, and it could run properly. There's other fields that can be used for other things, such as having a show, but I think those should not be for that.
yeah,
Um,
I
yeah,
think
definitely.
that should be the focus of these parish sports councils in terms
Yeah,
of identifying these facilities and developing it. And I say sporting facilities, right?
yeah,
And developing them for the particular use. So if there is one that they can identify for the football and track and field, and another one for cricket as the major playing
maybe
fields
playing
in that
field. Yeah,
parish, but then you
yeah.
have the others, eh? So, like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, St. Patrick might be the only parish where most of the playing fields are lighted. Um,
Yes.
um
I
yeah,
think besides one, there's a smaller
yeah,
one in a smaller community,
yeah,
Snell Hall, and I,
yeah,
I don't think they have lights. I could be
yeah,
wrong, but almost every field in
right.
St. Patrick's it has lights. Yes.
Right. So that's interesting enough. So that's why I'm
Yeah.
saying that they can look at saying, and just for reference, as an example, for recreation ground, for track and field and football, planes for cricket as major sporting facilities in the parish.
Facility. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
then you have the others that are there in, as you say, in
That
Snell
open up for
Hall
other
and
things, Snell
all these
Hall,
other
and
places.
okay,
Right.
you still got to go back to Hermitage, and who also have lights, and they have a stadium there, that football.
Right.
So you have to, and then what you are doing, you are not leaving all the major events in one area. Everything, everybody have to come to the 4 recreation go. No, we can branch out too and go places, because you imagine you bring Eagles and Not Stars to go and play in Hermitage. The people will come up and support. And that can be a good thing for the community, right? That people can come in there and so it could be good for the community and an activity on the day, because then people may not get to go nowhere or do anything. So those things and them could come and play at the same time. But like you said, that do come for the councils, the parish council, that they have to really look into that and identify fields and identify sporting fields and fix it up. Netball, look at the
I
Sutter's
even
hard
forgot
court.
that. Yeah.
That has to be the Sutter hard court. That had to be revamped too.
Yeah.
It's been the same way for years.
Because
They
it
play
was used for
basketball, they
netball
use
and
that. It
basketball,
has to be netball and
Netball and
basketball.
basketball.
But you
Yeah.
also have to get it fixed up and put it in proper content so that it can be used. And then you got to consider: do we need to add another netball court somewhere else in the parish than keep it in the heart
Let's
of
say,
Sotels?
let's say a
So
hard court. When we say hard court,
a hard court, yeah,
it may
because
be
hard court,
used for
yeah,
netball,
yeah,
basketball, even volleyball.
even
Hard court.
volleyball, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to also consider that, right? Because again, I remember many years ago when I was home and there was some basketball there. Basketball go late. There's no buses. People have to walk from Sotels to Riverside. Like I've seen my friends have to walk to go up there, and that is a journey. Okay, that is a journey to walk to go home. But it's all in fun. People don't mind. But however, if there was something somewhere else closer, it makes it easier that people could be in the middle and go both and do both. And sometimes also having some stuff early, not too late. So that's the issue. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Just hang on.
All
I got to
right.
answer this stuff.
Yeah.
Hang on.
So all the best, and thank you very much, Rudian. Okay then. So that's Rudian, who is leaving us for, well, not for now, but he's leaving us. Thank you very much. He has to run. Thank you once again, folks, for being part of our program. Hope to see you come next week, God's willing. Next week, God's willing. Yeah. Is it? Yeah, I think so. I will let you know, because I think there's an activity that's taking place on Saturday, next Saturday, God's willing. Yeah. Maybe a funeral I may have to attend and be the master of ceremonies for that funeral. Yeah, funeral service. But I think I have to check the schedule. Thank you once again for being part of the program. It's always a pleasure having you as we talk sports. Thank you again, Rudy and Sylvan, my co-hosts in Toronto. And thank you to all those who have provided some insights into today's program. Thank you, Lincoln Toro Depredine. Carl Blackman, nice hearing from you. Hopefully I can see you sometime in the very near future. Also, I want to say thanks, Nisha Craigwell, our good friend from Barbados. That's the president of the Barbados Netball Association. She's also a member of the Caribbean Netball Association. We have a date to chat again sometime in the very near future, Nisha. Thank you very much for being part of the program. And as usual, Roger, as you said, it's, let me see what it was like. He did say it's sunny, yeah, with some passing clouds over the coconut tree and a bit windy. Okay. Thank you, Roger, for as usual being part of the program. And Edwin Sam. Yeah, thank you, Edwin. Edwin is in Brooklyn, New York. He's actually from New Jersey, yeah? But somehow he's liming in the hood this weekend. Thank you very much, folks, for being part of the program. Remember, if you're in Grenada, there is triathlon on Sunday morning down the Grand Anse Montrouge area around 7 o'clock in the morning. So you can go out and support the competitors. They'll be swimming, then biking, and then running. Various age group competitors. Then there's the Parapan American Games that have started, and we have a cyclist in action, Sheldon Francois. He'll be competing on Sunday morning as well. And if there's any other sporting activities happening in your community, please go out and support. If you know of it, please go out and support. And if you know of anything that's happening and you want to share it with me, please feel free. Just put a note, send it to me, and I'll free to share it and follow up on it, etc., etc. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Always a pleasure having you. Looking forward to your company in the very near future. Remember, it's getting close to Christmas. In fact, I heard some Christmas carol being played already. Okay. And then one final secret. You know, I already said happy birthday to my brother. His birthday is today. One of the secrets, it's my birthday on Monday. Yeah. It's the start of the best, as I say, it's the best month of the year and the best period of the year because it's my birthday, wife's birthday in a few days, and our anniversary in a few days as well. Thank you very much for being part of the program. Looking forward to your company in the very near future. All for now, wishing you a pleasant weekend.